immigration. Is it a crisis in the UK or is it an opportunity? Good afternoon, welcome to Market Wrap number 228. Stuart Williamson here at the helm. Some questions, comments from last week's Market Wrap. We've got a gentleman, I think it's a gentleman, Matthew, who says, do we think the government is shaking the landscape for corporate landlords squeezing out the private ones? I don't think it is, no. I think it's trying to get a more coverage for the build-to-rent market. And I think they're trying to build up that sector because it has become very big in the US, it's very big in Europe, and we have a very small market in the UK. And it's been successful for the governments who are getting extra tenants out there. It's for pension companies making money. It's for private government funds making money. So it is a good thing to do. So I don't think it is them trying to squeeze them out. Secondly, is it entirely the fault of the government that they're trying to push landlords out of the market? No, they are being very unfair, I think, on the tax, and that's not going to be very helpful. But I don't think they're trying to push landlords out. I think it's just a general move towards the centre as opposed to the right of the political parties, that they are becoming more left-wing orientated, more Labour orientated. Okay, thirdly, the right choice of investment has always been a big problem for me, because I know picking the wrong investment in property would leave a big scar in the future. That's true. It's buy in haste, repent at leisure. But the things to remember, if you do your research, then 9 out of 10 things you worry about won't happen. So it's unlikely to make a mistake if you do the research. Be conservative, try and find something that's just middle of the road, that's going to give you a good return, not too great a return, perhaps 6% rental yield. It's going to give you, say, 25% growth over the next 10 years, that sort of thing. Not something that's going to shoot the lights out. If something's offering 8 or 10% rental return, there's got to be a reason for it. It's either a HMO or it's a REC. So just get some good advice. Talk to lots of people. Don't just talk to APW, for example. Talk to lots of other people and get a full picture of it. You don't have to put all your eggs into one basket. One of the companies we use, they allow you to pay 5% deposit and then a monthly amount. So you're just paying a small amount of money out every month, which is super. So it doesn't have to be a big scar in the future. It can be a bit of an irritable spot, but not necessarily a scar. But if you would like some independent advice from us, some input into your decision making, I do this every day. I was just speaking to a gentleman a moment ago who's in Nigeria, who's looking to buy a pension property for 12 years' time. And we've just been talking about what is the right sort of one. Is it a house or a flat or what? So do get in touch. Drop us an email if you'd like more information. And thanks for getting in touch. So the facts. What are the facts on immigration into the UK? Well, this last Saturday, 1,000 migrants crossed the channel in the little dinghies, which beat the previous super high target, which was 882 on the 18th of June. Now, just bear in mind that of the 640,000 people who come into the UK over the last 12 months, up until June last year, only 40,000 came in illegally. So the majority of people who come into the UK are here completely legally. I think about 175,000 are Ukrainians. The rest are on work permits or visas or student permits. So we have got a lot of people coming into the country. The majority are here legally. What are the actual facts? The UK population grew by 1% to 68.3 million in the year to mid-2023. It's the fastest increase since 1971, driven entirely by net migration. The first time over that period, that 12-month period, since 1976, deaths have outnumbered births, with a net loss of 16,300 births. Birth rate is now down to 1.5 children per woman. Migration now is the sole driver. Migration was up at 677,000, and it was the only contributor to population growth. The UK economy is increasingly reliant on migration to support economic growth, as the Office of Budget Responsibility warns the constant trend of deaths exceeding births is likely to continue well into 2030. We've got demographic and economic pressures. An ageing population places demands on pensions and healthcare systems. There's a lot of people like myself, the baby boomers, who are going to be living off state pensions, who are going to be going to the hospitals for treatment a lot more often. So it causes problems in the supporting aspect of it. Also, rapid population growth is creating pressures on housing, public services and infrastructure. And we're going to do some market research in a moment. And you'll see it's not just the UK that has that situation. England and Wales recorded a 1% population increase. Scotland and Northern Ireland were at 0.8 and 0.5. So it's not right across the board that people are moving to in the UK. It's more the bigger economic locations. So is immigration bad? Let's look at this case study from the US, according to Wall Street Journal. They say more workers means more output, and that in turn leads to additional tax revenue. And according to Philip Swagel, director of the Congressional Budget Office, which I guess is the Office of Budget Responsibility in the UK, it'll lead to a $7 trillion boost to the economy, $7 trillion. Okay, well, not all migrants, they understand, will be able to work. Children and the infirm won't be able to do that. A large portion of the recent and future expected migrants are believed to be 25 to 54 years old, the CBO said. People in that age are prime working population. Federal authorities encountered more than 2.5 million migrants crossing the US-Mexico border last year, according to the Department of Homeland, which in total meant 3.3 million people entered the US. As a result, the nation's gross domestic product, a measure of the economy's size, will grow by an extra $7 trillion over the next decade. Inflation-adjusted GDP is set to add 0.2 percentage points on every average year because of the great immigration going on. And the Fed will benefit from that growth as tax revenue will increase by $1 trillion a year. So that's an absolutely huge amount of money. What it does do is what I just mentioned about the UK. It creates a strain on the local healthcare and schooling environment. In the US, the states and the local authorities pay for schooling and healthcare, not central government. So it's slightly different than it is in the UK, where in general it's a burden that the government faces. In addition, the CBO says it answers the labour shortages. The number of US job openings exceeds the number of unemployed people looking for work by more than 2 million, according to Bureau of Labour Statistics data. When the economy was reopening after the pandemic, it was worse than that. Immigrants have been playing a crucial role in easing the shortages of what's nearly 3 million jobs in the US, according to the director of Centre for Economic Security and Opportunity at the Brookings Institution, a lady called Tara Watson. She finally says immigrants are poised to become even more necessary in the US labour market as more baby boomers enter retirement and fertility rates decline. Her book is one called The Border Within, The Economics of Immigration in an Age of Fear. And that exactly mirrors what's going on in the UK. So it's not just the UK, and it's not just a UK-centric problem. If we just move on to Germany very quickly, the German government has called for an increase in skilled immigrants to bolster the country's ageing workforce. Baby boomers again. It slashed its economic forecast, warning that output would shrink by 0.4% this year, and admitting it must overcome major structural changes, including a desperate shortage of workers. Robert Habeck, who's the economy minister and a vice chancellor, blamed the grim outlook on Europe's largest economy on the energy crisis triggered by Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, a sharp rise in interest rates to tackle inflation and slowing global trade. He said, companies are desperately looking for workers. Craft businesses have to reject orders. Shops and restaurants have to limit their opening hours. And it's not just about skilled workers. It's in every possible corner that we simply lack workers. He went on to say, I know there's some reservations about it, and it's completely clear we need better control of who comes into the country, and those who are not allowed to stay must go straight away. His final quote is, everything is tired here. Gloom spreads through German manufacturing industry's economy, which has contracted or stagnated for the past 9 months. And the IMF this week predicted it'd be the worst performing major economy this year. So there you have, in a nutshell, the US is benefiting from immigration. Germany was wanting more of it, and in the UK we're having it. Now it may go against the grain, and certainly for someone of my age who hasn't seen this sort of thing before, even my children were in the West End a short while ago, and my daughter said to me, are there no English-speaking people left in London? And it's because if there wasn't non-English-speaking people, we wouldn't have the services. We wouldn't have people in the hotels. We wouldn't have the restaurants running. And that's what Germany is saying they need. And that's what the US has succeeded in building their strong economy on that. So overall, what does it mean to the UK? Baby boomers are hitting retirement. It'll be the biggest burden yet on the national insurance and health service. More people are dying in the UK than are being born. Does it mean the workforce will die out? Well, it will. It'll be like Japan, where they're bringing back people in their 70s and 80s to work because there's not enough employees to go around. In addition, we've got not enough house building. That's another thing, another issue. So it's going to mean that rentals on properties are going to go up and up and up. Immigration stresses on schools and hospitals are a stress on the local authorities. Now, there's a great quote here. In 2018, the Minister of Housing, Communities and Local Government used a model from the University of Reading suggesting a 1% rise in households led to a 2% rise in house prices. Therefore, 4.8 million increase in foreign-born households between 1991 and 2016 means immigration could be responsible for an estimated 21% increase in house prices over that period. Now, if that model is true, in 2022, with a net immigration of 600,000 being 1% of the population roughly, suggests that net migration is responsible for house price inflation being 2% higher than otherwise. Actually, in the last 12 months, house prices have fallen by 5% across the board, that's in all areas. In the absence of net migration, this could have been a fall of 7%. So you see the positive effect inflation is having on us. I know socially it doesn't seem that acceptable in some cases, but it is the best for Britain, for the economy, for the population. You just have to rub along together and make sure it works. From an investment perspective, from property, it's a great opportunity to invest because the more people that come in, the more property prices go up. And at the moment, that means more rents will go up because they're not building enough houses. A lot of social problems to be dealt with, but overall, it's positive for the UK property market. Thanks for watching. I hope you found that useful. If you want to be in touch, please do get in touch, give us your opinions, ask any questions, ask for any advice you might want to get from us. Thank you very much. Cheerio.